Imagine a battlefield where the fate of Europe hangs by a thread, where the thunder of cannons drowns out cries of desperation, and one man's ambition could reshape the entire continent. Welcome to the Battle of Waterloo. But before we dive into this epic story, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more history stories that will blow your mind. The year was 1815. Europe trembled under the shadow of Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who rose from a Corsican outsider to Emperor of France. Having been defeated once and exiled to the island of Elba, many thought his story had ended. But Napoleon was not a man easily forgotten. Within months, he returned to France, gathered an army, and once again claimed the title of emperor. His ambition threatened to plunge Europe into chaos once more. Nations scrambled to respond, armies mobilized, and the stage was set for one of history's most decisive battles. To understand why Waterloo mattered so much, one must first grasp the political landscape of Europe. Following Napoleon's initial defeat in 1814, the Treaty of Paris sought to restore order. Monarchs returned to power, borders were redrawn, and a fragile peace was established. But Napoleon's ambition could not be contained. As he rallied loyal troops, Europe's powers realized that they had to stop him before he struck decisively. The coalition armies, led by Britain's Duke of Wellington and Prussia's Field Marshal Blücher, moved to confront him. The battlefield was near the small Belgian town of Waterloo, about 13 kilometers south of Brussels. Napoleon knew that a victory here could cement his power and reshape the continent. Facing him were men who would not yield easily: the Duke of Wellington, a commander renowned for discipline and defensive tactics, and Blücher, a seasoned Prussian leader determined to avenge past defeats. Napoleon's marshals, including the fearless Marshal Ney, would lead some of the fiercest attacks ever seen on a European battlefield. In June of that year, Napoleon moved swiftly into Belgium with a bold plan to defeat the Prussians under Blücher before they could unite with Wellington's forces. On June 16, the French engaged the Prussians at the Battle of Ligny and claimed victory, while Ney tried to prevent Wellington from joining the fight at Quatre-Bras. Though Napoleon had some success, the Prussians retreated in good order, leaving the possibility of a counterattack alive. By June 17 and 18, the armies positioned themselves for the confrontation that would decide the fate of Europe. Wellington's troops took up defensive positions along the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean, while Napoleon prepared for his grand assault. The battlefield itself was a complex terrain of ridges, valleys, forests, and small farms. The British took advantage of fortified positions behind La Haye-Saint and Hougoumont, understanding that holding these points could turn the tide in their favor. Heavy rain had soaked the ground the day before, slowing Napoleon's artillery and giving the Allies precious time to prepare. At around 11:30 on the morning of June 18, the battle erupted. Ney led a daring attack on Hougoumont, hoping to draw Wellington's forces into a deadly trap. The French fought fiercely, but Hougoumont held strong, drawing French forces into a prolonged struggle. At the same time, Napoleon concentrated his attacks on the center of Wellington's line, hoping to pierce the heart of the Allied defense. Massive artillery bombardments shook the earth, followed by waves of infantry. Yet the British squares stood firm, repelling cavalry charges and maintaining cohesion under relentless pressure. As the day wore on, Napoleon unleashed repeated attacks. Ney commanded a massive cavalry charge, sending thousands of horsemen against the British squares. The thunder of hooves and the screams of men filled the air, yet the disciplined British formations held, firing volley after volley. When Napoleon committed his Imperial Guard, the pride of the French army, in a final attempt to break the Allied center, the tide had already begun to turn. Wellington's steadfast soldiers and the timely arrival of Blücher's Prussians on the French flank created an unbreakable line. Chaos erupted on the battlefield, and French morale faltered. Napoleon realized the battle was lost. By evening, the French were in full retreat. Waterloo had ended Napoleon's last attempt at conquest. The Allied armies counted tens of thousands of casualties, and Napoleon's dream of dominating Europe was shattered forever. He fled to Paris, abdicated for the second time, and was exiled to St. Helena, where he would spend the remainder of his life. The Battle of Waterloo was more than a clash of armies, it was a turning point in history. It ended the Napoleonic Wars and ushered in a period of relative peace across Europe. The battle demonstrated the power of strategy, discipline, and resilience. Napoleon's genius, unmatched as it was, could not overcome the combination of careful planning, steadfast defense, and timely reinforcements. Wellington's patience and the Prussian army's determination proved decisive, showing how leadership and unity can change the course of history. Waterloo remains one of the most studied battles ever fought. Its lessons echo beyond the battlefield, reminding us of the consequences of ambition, the importance of preparation, and the thin line between victory and defeat. As the dust settled on that fateful day, Europe's fate was rewritten, forever shaped by the courage, strategy, and sheer will of the men who stood on the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean. If this story fascinated you and you want to explore more epic moments that shaped the world, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join the journey through history.